This is a very important gospel for me. At the two most important liturgical celebrations of my life, that of making solemn final profession as a Capuchin, and then again at my ordination, this was the gospel. There was two of us who made final profession together, as James and John are two brothers. So we selected this gospel, and then once again, my suggestion, it was selected for my ordination. And it helps me in many ways. For one, sometimes it reminds me that I'm praying the wrong way. I'm praying like James and John. We want you to do, Lord, what we ask of you. So often we want the Lord to give us what we want, huh? Rather than for us to do what the Lord wants. So I remember this gospel and I pray, oh Lord, I'm praying the wrong way. Again, don't do what I want, but help me to do what you want. Show me what you want. And the other one is to help me serve. Not to think that because I'm a religious, a Capuchin, or a priest that I'm above other people, but I'm called to be a servant of all. And I forget that too. Sometimes I think that I'm supposed to stand out. I'll give you an example. Once when I was younger, I volunteered to help at a religious conference. So I was setting up chairs at a big hall. And I was proud of how fast I was setting up the chairs, huh? And I thought, well, maybe people notice what a good job I'm doing, how quickly I'm doing it, and give me other responsibilities. Maybe they'll even make me the volunteer of the week. Well, there was another man setting up chairs. He was going so slow. I would set up 5 chairs, but he would set up only 1. So I went over to the man and said, sir, can I help you? I thought maybe I'd show him how to set up chairs like I was doing really quick, you know? He said, oh, no, thank you, I'm fine. So I went back to setting up chairs. And someone else, another volunteer, came over to me and said, you know that man over there setting up chairs? You know what he's doing? Each time he sets up a chair, he says a prayer for the person who will sit in that chair. That man was prayerfully serving God. Well, I was thinking about standing out as being a wonderful servant. We don't serve in order to become great. We serve because it's a great thing to serve others. Mother Teresa, Calcutta, did not serve in order to become a great person and think, oh, someday I'll win the Nobel Peace Prize. She served poor, the neediest. She saw Christ in them. She served because it's a great thing to serve, because we are called to serve. James and John ended up being great apostles. James evangelized Iberia, modern-day Spain, and was the first to be martyred. And his younger brother John, the great evangelist who gave us the 4th gospel. But they had to learn how to serve. We all have to learn how to serve, not for our sake, but for the sake of Christ and his gospel. They say they want to be at the right and the left of Jesus when he came into his glory. Jesus says, you don't know what you're saying. When did Jesus come into his glory? On the cross. He gave out everything, poured out all that he had to do the Father's will. Who was at his right and who was at his left? Not people he chose, but 2 criminals. Jesus says, can you undergo the baptism that I have to undergo? Can you drink of the chalice that I must drink from? The baptism that he had to undergo was to be immersed into the misery, the suffering of the human condition, for sin to be inflicted upon him, to pour out his life on the cross, the baptism of his passion and death. The cup was a cup of suffering. James and John glibly, as if they're going to a picnic, says, oh yes, we can do that. We're not that very different. We get baptized, and then we walk down the aisle for our confirmation, our first communion, our marriage, our ordination, thinking, oh yes, we can do this. Not realizing what Jesus is asking of us. Can you drink of the cup of suffering that I must drink from? Can you be baptized with the baptism of suffering that I must be baptized with? So often we think that we do these sacraments and that they're for us. Oh, I'm receiving communion. I'm receiving confirmation. I'm getting married to be happy. I'm getting ordained. No. We do it to pour out our life for others, as Jesus did, even if it means suffering. And so today, when we receive communion, we receive the body and the blood of Christ. We are drinking of that cup, of that chalice that he had to drink from. James and John were with him in Gethsemane, in the garden, when he said to the Lord, when he said to his heavenly Father, if you can take this cup away from me, if you can take this chalice away from me that I must drink from, but not my will, but your will be done. Let us all pray always that not that God does our will, but that we do God's will in being a suffering servant, pouring out our lives in service to others for the greatness of God.